What's up everybody, Christian here coming at you again, my beautiful people. I have another Unity tutorial for you. Last time what we did is we created our player control and we allowed the player to move and jump using realistic physics that we created ourselves. So we created the gravity, we created the velocity, and then we just used some Visual Studio and some Unity engine aspects, but rather than using the character control that Unity gives us, we created our own. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to manipulate the camera, and I'm going to try to keep this very short because it's not very long. In the next video, hopefully tomorrow, there's sometime this weekend, I can show you how to create a singleton for the menus and whatnot, but for right now I'm just going to keep this super short and simple. It's been a while, and I know you probably are wanting to figure out how to manipulate the camera now. So what we want to do is we want to create another C# script. We're going to name this camera controller. Sweet. We're going to take this camera controller, well, once it's done loading, we're going to assign this onto the camera. Perfect. So we're going to open this camera up, and we don't really need to call anything other than just the Unity engine like it's set automatically as such. But we do want to create a few floats. So just like the last video where we created floats for our vectors, or for our velocities, our jump force, our gravity, we want to create some vectors, or our floats. Hold on, I'm just going to name this. So we're going to create some floats to allow the player to move the camera. So the first float we want to create is our mouse sensitivity, and we're going to equal that to 200. We're going to create a float for our mouse X, which will eventually be pushed into a vector 3. The next one we want to create is a float mouse Y for our Y vector. Finally, we want to create a float for our X rotation. We're going to just equal that to 0 now because it's going to eventually get called somewhere else. But first we want to do, when you're playing games in Unity, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit play and show you what happens. Let this do its little compile. And what normally happens is when we hit play, you can move around the mouse. We want to get rid of that. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to make sure that we turn the mouse off. So we're going to come over here and we're going to go cursor dot visible, and this is a boolean, so it can only take a true or false. So we're going to set that to false. The second thing we want to do is we want to do cursor dot lock state equals cursor lock mode dot locked. Cool. So since these are both booleans, we set just the first one to false, so we set the second one to the locked, which if you actually do some digging into the Unity API, you'll see that curse lock mode dot locked is actually a boolean in of itself. So this will be false, and if I were wanting to do unlocked, it would set that to true. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here, and when I hit play, you're going to notice that the cursor goes away. Perfect, amazing, awesome. And you just hit escape just to get it back. So now we're going to come back into our script here, and now we're going to call some stuff in update. So we want to set our mouse X. So what we're going to do is we're going to do input dot get axis raw, not get component. Input dot get axis raw, not just get access. We're going to go mouse, and this must be spelled and written exactly, and I'm not doing it, but this must be spelled and written exactly like how it shows up in the Unity. So if we go down here to our project settings, we scroll down to our input manager, axes, we see that we have a mouse X and a mouse Y. So we want to make sure that those are spelled exactly how they are in the project settings in Visual Studio. So we're just going to multiply this mouse sensitivity, so we're going to multiply it by the 200. We're going to do time dot delta times. So every second it's going to multiply, not plus, whoops. So every second we're going to multiply the input for the mouse X, the mouse sensitivity, and it's going to happen every second. So we're going to do the same thing for our mouse Y equals input dot get axis raw But instead of mouse X, we're going to do mouse Y. And again, mouse sensitivity times time dot delta time. Cool. Now what we want to do is we want to subtract the X rotation from the mouse X, or mouse Y, I should say. The reason we do this is because we don't want the mouse rotation, or the X rotation, happening on the mouse Y. You'll see why here in a sec. So now what we want to do is we want to do void fixed update. We're going to do X rotation, and this is why we subtracted it from the mouse Y. Math equals math f dot clamp, which was this. What this means is we're clamping it to a certain, between two different numbers. So we're going to clamp this between the X rotation. We're going to do 90 and negative 90. So now what happens here is that the mouse Y, when we're moving up and down, it will not go above 90, basically creating a circle, or it won't go below 90. So what it's going to do is it's going to look straight up, and it's going to look straight down, and it can't go farther than looking straight up. Next thing we want to do is we also need to call one more variable, two more variables, actually. So what we want to do a public variable for the transform. Okay, well, transform. We want to call this the player body. The second variable is our rigid body. So we're going to, instead of public, we still want this to be private, so we're going to do serialized field, rigid body, and we're going to call this player. So now we come back down. We're going to do player body dot rotate vector 3 dot up times our mouse X. The second one we're going to do is we're going to do transform dot local rotation, and we're going to equal this quaternion, which quaternion is very similar to a vector, but instead of it being only limited to 3, you can use it's very tricky to understand, but you can use 4 different variables instead of just 3. So we're going to do quaternion.euler. We're going to go X rotation dot comma 0 comma 0. And if you really wanted to, you could throw in another one there, but that's fine. So this is all set up and done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come into our engine right here. We're going to make sure that everything is updated. So what we want to do, there's 2 different controllers here. It's very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of one. I might have added it twice. Oops. Just remove that component. So on this one right here, we're going to drag in our capsule for the transform and our capsule for the rigid body. And as you can see in the script, we actually didn't call anything for the player's rigid body, but we just wanted to make sure that it is still being called as it is a physics object. So what we want to do is we're going to come over and we are going to hit, so we're going to save this first, we're going to hit play. The mouse should go away and we can move around, and we messed up somewhere. Let's figure out where we messed this up. I'm pretty sure these are backwards. I think it should be negative 90 and positive 90. Just make sure. Yeah, okay. I think that's how it's supposed to be. Might have had those 2 backwards. So we hit play. And as you can see, we can look side to side, but for some reason it's not letting us look up and down. So let's figure out why it's not letting, like as you can see, we can side to side. We're also getting an error here, so let's see, input mouse. So yeah, see, like I said, it must be titled and written exactly how it shows up in Unity. So we're going to save. I'm going to go ahead and hit play right here. we can move around, we can look up and down, and we can look left and right. But as you can see, I can't go anything less than 90 or negative 90. I can't go anything more than positive 90. So pretty simple, pretty neat. And now we have a full first-person controller and first-person camera. Pretty neat. So let's quickly go over what we have done. We added our floats for our different mouse sensitivities and our mouse variables. We added our public transform. We locked our camera and we turned off the cursor. We added our mouse X and our mouse Y to work with the vectors that were created in Engine for our mouse X and our mouse Y, and we subtracted the X rotation off the mouse Y, so we're not going too crazy. We're not looking more than 90 and less than negative 90. When the player moves along the XY, we rotated the player's transform as well, and this was set by the local Euler angles as such. And the result is that we now have a full first-person player movement and camera controller. So if you have any questions, like I always say, come join our Discord, leave a comment, and if you like what you see, go ahead, feel free to leave a like and hit that subscribe button, as it really helps this channel grow a lot. As you can see, with just a small amount of support, I was able to get a ring light, and now I'm also using a camera here, so it's a bit of a change of scenery. But as always, it's been a ultimate pleasure teaching you how to create something in Unity, and as always, I'm going to continue our bot tutorials, so if you want to see more of those, make sure you hit our bot tutorial channel or our playlist, and make sure you come into our Discord if you have any questions. I'll happily answer them. We have special channels for you to come in and ask questions, and I'll be there as soon as I can. I'm sort of busy with school and work and my internship, that's why I haven't been posting a lot of videos lately. But another thing, we're game streaming a lot. We also do our podcast. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to hop in. I'll gladly hop in and assist you. And on that note, it's been a pleasure, and I hope you have a great day.